Does Oklahoma have a receiver problem? And is it a good thing that Michael Hawkins Jr. is sticking with the Sooners? Let's talk about that. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, like this video so you don't miss any of the segments that we upload right here. Join the 122,000 subscribers to the show. And you know what? Comment in the comments. Like, I'm in there. People in there. Let me know. Do you like Michael Hawkins Jr. announcing last Friday that he wants to be at Oklahoma and play quarterback? And how worried are you about the receiving corps? And let's talk about that second one before we talk about that first one. Oklahoma has had a mass exodus of talented receivers over the last few weeks. And I wanted to see how this is building before I did this segment because, frankly, I think that losing receivers, losing skill players is not as big a deal as recruiting to the offensive line because you could do a lot with so-so receivers and a so-so running back group if you have an elite offensive line. The Joe Moore Award was won by Army this year, who had Kanye Uda, who I thought was decent to good, but, you know, they also had a quarterback who I thought was decent to good, but they had the best offensive line in football, so they were able to put together the kind of championship team that they were, winning the American, losing the Navy, but also putting together an 11-1 season along the way. I thought that was great. Or I guess it would be 10-2. Excuse me, be 10-2. No, it would be 11-2 because they played the conference championship. Anyway, the point there is, I think losing guys like Andrew Anthony, J.J. Hester, Nick Anderson, Jaleel Farouk to the transfer portal, to say nothing of Brennan Thompson, Jaquez Petaway. Jaden Gibson wants to stay, but he was hurt. I don't know where you would want to go. Andrew Anthony didn't play much at all in 2024, which is weird. Nick Anderson apparently didn't trust the staff, but I mean, okay, fine. Still didn't play. And now it looks like Bauer Sharp is already going to LSU. And Brent Venables is going to have to do some recruiting in the portal along with Ben Arbuckle, new offensive coordinator. And, you know, we'll see what the quarterback situation looks like. So I think Deion Burks is obviously the target to keep here. We know what Deion Burks is capable of, both from the spring game last year and what he showed when he was healthy this year. The problem that Oklahoma has is, quite frankly, they haven't been able to keep everybody healthy. Now, there's a lot to be said about doesn't matter who the quarterback is, or I don't think that that's true. I think a quarterback can help you with a so-so offensive line. I think that having a great quarterback with a great offensive line is absolutely what you want, right? That's how you draw it up. When Baker Mayfield was spinning it, when Kyler Murray was spinning it, hell, when Jalen Hurts was spinning it, the offensive line was unquestioned. You understood that the offensive line was going to give you everything you needed to be able to run and pass, right? That guard tackle counter became such a staple of Oklahoma's offense that everybody else runs it now. That's what Bill Bedenbaugh has been able to provide since joining the staff in 2013, really revamping the image of Oklahoma's offensive line and making it the kind of program that could rush for 300 and pass for 300 on a regular, producing guys like Creed Humphrey, who snaps the ball to Patrick Mahomes, Orlando Brown. Like, we can keep going down the line on what Bill Bedenbaugh has done for this program. However, all it takes is one bad year for everybody to look at you and go, do you still have it? Can you still create a great offensive line? And that would be my first question if I was a quarterback that was looking to transfer it to Oklahoma. Like, John Mateer seems to be the leader in the clubhouse, entered the transfer portal earlier today. And I would want to know, are you going to put together an offensive line that can help me? Now, John Mateer can also help himself back there. And that's another thing that makes him, I think, a draw. It's a guy that rushed for 826 yards while passing for over 3,000 yards this season. At Oklahoma, he could probably be a 4,000, 1,000 guy with a great offensive line. So there's that. Then Deion Burks. He probably wants to know who the quarterback is. And no disrespect, shade to Michael Hawkins Jr., he knows what Michael Hawkins Jr. can do. Now it's on Michael Hawkins Jr. to recruit Deion Burks. That's what I want to see, right? Now, we'll get a lot more of a read on this when Oklahoma plays its bowl game, I believe against Navy, actually, in the Armed Forces Bowl. But I don't know who they're going to be throwing passes to, and for that matter, who's going to be running the football. It was obviously a miss for Oklahoma to let Tawee Walker walk to Wisconsin, especially as a walk-on, and had shown more than enough to be, I think, the feature back for Oklahoma this year. I thought between him and Javonte Barnes, you could have a power running game. And then if Gavin Sawchuk could add something to that, all the better. It's not how it went, right? So again, back to this offensive line. But I think if Michael Hawkins Jr. can absolutely bring some of these guys back into the fold that entered the portal, yeah, that probably means that they want him to be the guy. And that means that you probably go into the spring looking like the guy. And I think that there are star players that get to say, I feel much more comfortable with that dude. I mean, they did that with, my goodness, with Jackson Arnold. When he got booted down to scout team, he poured a kinship with scout team receiver. Next thing you know, that dude's catching passes from him. And frankly, they were scoring touchdowns. I think there's a lot to be gleaned from that. I do think that the amount of talent that Oklahoma's lost from that receiving core position, especially losing out on the Micah Hudson sweepstakes, among others, is that's just not a good look, right? At a place where D.D. Westbrook could show up and not just be a Biletnikoff Award winner, but a finalist. A place that produces CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Mims, Drake Stoops. Like, we keep going down on just who has come through this program. Sterling Shepard, that have been great wide receivers, and the idea that you can't keep them, even guys like legacies, Nick Anderson's older brother Rodney Anderson, what he means to Oklahoma football, that's not a great look. Now, I don't think that it's money so much as, first, you want to have players that want to be at Oklahoma. That's what everybody wants. You want somebody who's got buy-in from the jump. And then you want them to think of the name, image, and likeness as icing on a cake. But a cake is a large, it's a large pastry that you have to cook. If you just throw icing on it, what are you doing, right? You're just garnishing the cake. The cake itself got to taste good, right? I don't know that there are a lot of players that are looking at the cake. I think they're looking at the icing. They like chocolate. They like strawberry. They like no icing. Whatever. I think it's more like you want to have a guy that wants to be in there baking with you, right? He wants to help you build this cake, wants to help you get into the mixer. Maybe you get to lick the mixer bowl, what have you. I think if Brent Venables can have those sorts of players, yeah, he's going to put together the kind of football team he thinks can win. That said, we're not in that age anymore, man. Like, that age left about 3 years ago. As soon as it became legal under the NCAA bylaws to pay players for their name, image, and likeness, cancel Christmas. You can't recruit the same way that you recruited, and you can't expect to have buy-in from a traditional standpoint. Like, you're always going to have guys like, I think, Michael Hawkins Jr., who wants to play at Oklahoma because what Oklahoma means to him personally, what it meant to his father personally, and what it would mean to him to graduate from that place, to say nothing to playing football at that place. That ain't how everybody else is built, especially if you don't get to play. Okay? Like, I kept asking, where was Jaquez Petaway like halfway through the season? Because I think that dude can play. I was told differently. Brennan Thompson came from Texas to Oklahoma. That should tell you a lot, right? He's going back into the portal. You've also seen guys like Mario Williams go from Oklahoma to SC to Tulane. It's going to happen with receivers. I'm not that over the moon about it. Over the moon. I should be down about it. Over the moon means positive. Down about it means negative. I'm not that down about what the receiving core may or may not look like in the future, because I think it's still going to be evolving. I think you're going to have another portal open in spring, and you're going to go into that one more time, and then you're going to have your football team. But when Oklahoma can go get Gavin Freeman as a walk-on, turn him into a player and the kind of guy that can transfer out, you're okay, man. You're going to be able to get dudes, and that is the thing. Keep the star player. That is Deion Burks. That is the only star player at receiver. You lose him, all right, now you got to really do a little bit of work. But the fact that he hadn't entered the thing just yet, that's important to note, right? Now, when Deion Burks enters the transfer portal, then we're going to have another discussion. But for now, I think that you can come back from this if you land the right quarterback, whether it be John Mateer or Aaron Nolan or anybody else that might enter or has entered. Pribula, has entered earlier today. You're going to have options at quarterback. You're going to have options at receiver. What you must have is a good offensive line and a strength and conditioning program, Jerry Schmidt, that ain't getting nobody hurt. Like, that's my thing. I don't care who the play caller is so much as I care, is everybody going to be healthy to play next year? Because that was the real draw back to Oklahoma's football fortunes in 2024. Nobody was healthy. But when they had something like health, hey, they beat a top 10 Alabama by 3 touchdowns. You could still be that program. It's just going to have to get there a little bit differently. But I'm going to say tamp down on the wide receiver stuff for a time. And then let's wait and see what it looks like when the dust settles.